All right, we are now recording, and let's see, I should be able to share. All right, so we'll go from the top. Ben, you want to talk about extension tables?
Sure. There's not much to say other than just to say I have a PR open, and if anyone gets a chance to take a look at it, that would be great. I tried to comment in places where I wasn't really sure of the correct way to do things. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to give me like the 30-second? This was like an alternative to ReadRel for tables that don't really map to a read, or am I completely misconstruing?
It's like functions which have the ability to generate tables. So it might not even be a read at all. So, for example, it could be something like a function you call generator, which just generates a table of numbers from 1 to n or something like that.
Right.
And
a simple UDTFs.
Yep, exactly. And I sort of broke it down into two cases. One of the cases is basically just situations in which we think we could fully describe the type deduction from the parameters alone. So, as an example, if you wanted to call a nest on some primitive list or something, right, the type actually is based off of the input value, but it's determinable from the input value. And then the other case is kind of the back door to say, well, this is some user defined function, and we have no idea as a general principle what the shape of this thing is going to be. The schema that comes out, and you just have to provide it explicitly at the time of constructing the substrate plan. That's kind of the high level. The reason for the backdoor in the second case is you can just imagine schemas which are only known at runtime. So you have to be able to handle those cases.
In the first case, where the schema can be inferred from the parameters, is the schema not declared in the plan still? Like, it would be declared in the plan.
It is still declared in the plan, but I wanted to basically offer a way to make the semantics clearer in the YAML files where you would actually declare these functions. Doc, I'm just finding it right here. Here it is. Link. I just pasted it in the chat. But yeah, the idea is just to make it so that the semantics are clearer. But yes, of course, in the plan, you would still have to actually say the schema explicitly. And I just added a field to this new relation introduced called extension table rel or something. And the field basically just declares, it's just a Boolean, which says, was this something which was just describable by the content of the YAML file, like the case of generator, where it's just obviously an int, in this kind of situation, versus something that has to be produced at runtime, which we have a couple internal examples of at Datadog, in which case that derived Boolean would be false. But either case, you still have to supply the schema.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
The discussion, you've got the next item, which is JSON.
Yeah, I guess this didn't even really need that much discussion. There was kind of already discussion happening in the ticket, but just wanted to say it out loud, which is that I thought it would be useful to have a JSON type. It's certainly something we're using internally. I know you expressed some hesitation, David, I think it was, about some incompatibilities across different implementations. I'm not familiar with that, so I can't speak to whether or not that would be a problem or not, but
it's probably it just means that the functions that are defined have to be really clear about what their failure modes are in order to be clear and consistent.
okay.
I think that's all that really matters. And then to some extent, when I say support, which is the other concern I have, it's, again, functions are missing. We don't have a wide range of things that can put together and take apart struct types.
Yeah.
I think what we
Yeah.
found, it's like a small set of functions for JSON can go a long way. So mainly like functions to extract properties. And then once you can extract like a scalar field out of a JSON, then you can use all your other functions on it. So I don't think
The problem I had when I was doing the Spark to Substrate converter, and it was that once I got to structs, I could not like, oh, I just want to get the field name's address out of this JSON because now I had to pass it a name, and that name, it didn't know what the type was, it didn't know what, it's a name, it's not a number. There was a disconnect between the way that people usually think about doing those functions and the way that Substrate deals with those things. So that's the kind of, that's where we need somebody needs to spend some time playing in that JSON world and then fixing the issues that come out of it. It's not really, it's there's more work to be done besides just adding a JSON. Is all I need.
okay. And I think the JSON data type would not, in the data type itself, like explicitly list what field names are available or anything like that. It's just, this is arbitrary JSON, right?
It's valid JSON, but beyond that, it's arbitrary.
Yeah, if you
I
left
was
it
going to
as
call out. We were doing work, and I don't know if David remembers if we got to a place where any of it was public yet, but we had also had intention to introduce the variant type.
I don't think we
conceptually
actually started anything. I mean, we definitely wanted to do something. We would go to the Oxford.
I mean, I see variant.
They did something to that.
Sorry. All right, so variant is like a union type, basically.
Variant is like a JSON is logically the same as JSON, except with a richer type system.
Well, I mean, logically the same as JSON is like a storage thing. It's not a string.
No. I'm not saying storage wise. I'm saying it is a something that allows you to have an arbitrary shaped object. It's just that rather than only having numbers, structs, arrays, and strings, you also have date times and decimals and like right. All the types are available for the structure.
Right. I guess I'm wondering more like how's it different from union, but I guess the answer is maybe that variant still has struct and list as sort of first class logical types, whereas, and then just a rich set of primitive types, whereas union, you can put all that stuff in there, but it's not quite the same. Yeah, I think variant.
I always get confused because there's the named unions and the unnamed unions. Like named unions have declared schemas that just have alternatives, right? So like you've got union type A, union type B. You know it needs to be either A or B, which are sensor version 1 or sensor version 2. Mm-hmm. But they are well-defined structures, and you can probe which of the two union types it is. So that's one union type that exists. And then there's like the unnamed union, which is basically just any that each node in a tree of nodes can be of any type that's available in the type system. And that is effectively equivalent to the variant type.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, no, I think that would be good. There's one other data type on this list already too, which is fixed length list. Youngshield has down here, so we could gather all three of those into new potential data types, and I think they all have. I think JSON variant and fixed length list all have some sort of mixed support out there in the in the engines, like enough support to be substantial and I think justified substrate.
Weston, have you not gotten on the variant train yet? It doesn't sound like you have.
It's just JSON. Like we don't have a lot of users that have variant input that isn't JSON.
Yeah. Oh, I think once you have variant type, it's very hard to imagine not having it. That's what I'll say. Once you actually start using it regularly, you're like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to use JSON? It sucks.
Yeah. Well, I think our users are not that sophisticated in terms of like data. You know, they want to just give us JSON strings. And they don't, you know, we will probably need something like variant. Like right now we're using BSON internally so that we can speed up a little faster on our processing than just string processing. And maybe we can use variant instead. It's just like JSON, we end up with like 3 types. There's like the thing the user gives us, which is just a string. There's the thing we use internally for processing and compute, which right now is just BSON because it's more available than variant at the moment. And then there's how you store it. And I see this as like 3 different questions. I think variants could be useful as a processing and compute, and as more engines like Data Fusion add support for variant, then and more compute functions, especially for variant, then we'll get on the train.
Yeah. Well, what happens is that if you're going to do any transformations, that's when variant typically comes in, because you're right, it starts with JSON, right, or something else. But you start doing some kind of transformation, and you've got decimal type information, right? You've already cleaned this data up, so it's a decimal type now, but you want to stick it inside of a struct, and it's an arbitrarily shaped struct. And so, like, it's actually not sophisticated users that create it, like at least in the domains that I've seen. It's simply that if you get into the transformation game.
Okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. So we'll get those users someday. We haven't hit them yet.
Fair enough.
I guess compared to the number of users that just have raw JSON, it's still a small fraction. All right. Any other discussion on these data types? There's fixed length lists. There's a bit of name bike shedding of whether to call fixed length list or array. So if anyone wants to just jump in and weigh in on something so we can get quick consensus, I think array is probably running at the moment.
I'll also say I don't have a particular view on the bike shedding comment, but just about some types in general, I had not really thought about them before, but thinking about them now, I think we internally would actually have a usage which could really benefit from something like that. We basically have data which we query, which is kind of fundamentally untyped. And within each column, there can really be any type in the world, list, string, whatever. And the way that we are kind of modeling that in Substrate is we just invented a new custom any type, which we say is that column. But the way that I've kind of been thinking about it psychologically is as an implicit sum type. You know, we're calling it any, but what we really mean is it's one of these finite cases of things that this thing can be. So yeah, I don't know. That's not really something concrete to say other than just to say I do have interest in this kind of sum type approach. That seems like it could be useful for us.
Yeah.
I was not on the variant. I was not on the variant bus until I worked extensively with Snowflake, and I was like, yeah, this is a nice addition to the suite of things. Like, you're like, what do you need? You got JSON, you got all this other stuff.
Where can I find the usage of the word variant to describe what you're describing, Shock?
Go look at the Snowflake documentation. They have like go look at like Snowflake demos with a variant type. Like that's the Snowflake is the one that's been pushing it. Well, Snowflake and Databricks have both been pushed it to Iceberg.
Spark is maybe even the driver.
Yeah, Spark has it now. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things that like initially you're like, this doesn't seem like a great idea, but then the more you start working with it, you're like, oh, that's it's just much nicer than just JSON.
Thanks, Motion.
If Spark has it, does that mean Gluten has it?
I don't know.
I don't,
I know there was a
I don't know.
big drive from Spark to Databricks to Parquet.
Yeah, so, yeah, to Parquet, to Iceberg.
Yeah.
Like basically, if you want to try to take a Snowflake workload, you have to have variant. And so Databricks' business is taking Snowflake workloads. So because it's so common in Snowflake workloads. Not that all the columns are variants. It's not. It's just that there are a few columns that are variants in critical data sets.
Yeah. It's the schema list. I need to fall back to schema list for this column.
This reminds me of how in Postgres you could have like JSON, which is just a number, and then you can have like an actual number typed column.
Now I'm confused. Like a JSON column, and then all you're storing in it are numbers. JSON
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah, because you can have JSON functions, access the actual value, and the value is just a number.
But just a number is invalid JSON, right? So I guess that's
Yeah, I think JSON functions
confusing.
return JSON, and you have to cast to integer, for example. And
Yeah.
so if you just do a select from a column, a JSON column, you get a field out of it. The field is still JSON, and that's actually true with variant as well. You actually, when you first get a variant, but there are, just like there are functions for like interrogating the type in JSON, the same things exist in variant. Like, oh, is this actually
Yeah, it's like the most common use case for variant that we see is these like log. Like the user they'll have a bunch of kind of rich things they know about, and then they have like log statements, and the log statements are very flexible. It can change over time. You can have structured logging where they have like x equals y, y equals j. I guess I should not be talking about log statements to Datadog people.
Have you guys heard about what logging means? When
Like
people are doing telemetry stuff?
It's like, yeah, people write code, they just log out these statements, and then they need to collect that stuff in a database somewhere. All right, so
you do when you go into a forest.
oh yeah, that's good. All right, we're getting off track. URI to URN complete for Java, Python, Go, Rust. Any others that need to be completed?
I didn't do Substrate C++, but I also felt like I got a mixed response the last time I brought it up, that of whether it's being used or not. So
Someone was asking me about it yesterday.
well, there it is.
I mean, I wouldn't worry until someone is actually using, like, asking about it and actively using it are still two different steps. So.
I don't think that there's actually anything to change in Substrate CPP if we were to actually look at the code.
It might be
Yeah, I mean,
good.
My suggestion would be is just post something on the like README of the Substrate CPP saying, "Hey, this is something that needs to be addressed."
Okay.
But there's no builder in the Substrate CPP code. So I don't think there's any URIs that are being used.
Mm.
Then you
Okay.
get it done. Add it to your list. Yeah, I would figure that out, and then, if we're sure, then I like Doc's idea of adding it to do in the C++ repo, sort of saying, "Hey, this is falling behind."
Sure. I'll open up a PR later today to add that to some to-do list there. So
All right. Substrate text plan, David.
So I have taken all of the functionality in Substrate CPP that generates Substrate text plans, converted it to Rust. So it's 100% compatible with, at least for the positive test cases, for everything that's in the CPP repo. which means I can rip all that code out of the Substrate CPP repo and leave almost nothing. The Substrate text plan also has wrappers for Go and Python. So you've got now the 4 major languages all supported in that particular repo. I can move it from my personal repo into Substrate if we're ready for it. But the next step is to bring it from whatever 2 years old implementation with all the deprecated fields that it still supports the output for, and bring it up to supporting the current implementation, which is not that much work. So that's where we are with the text plan. Are we okay with moving it into Substrate? Because I just get this step.
I think that's fine. I mean, when you say moving into Substrate, you mean, do you envision moving it into Substrate-RS or leaving it as a standalone?
It's a standalone. The reason I designed it as a standalone this time around is because when I was part of all these other things, it was messing up everybody else's packaging methodologies. And by making it a separate thing, that doesn't have a problem. Each thing, it can be released on its own and it's completely separate. It doesn't convert, it doesn't allow you to save a binary directly to text. You actually have to serialize it to pass it to it, but that means that you are dependent on having the same protobuf definition that I built to use for the one that you built. No, I mean it's a workaround.
I missed if you said it's embeddable. It's like, did you design it with a C API? So I can just basically say like, hey, here's my binary stream of Substrate. Can you give me the text version and vice versa?
Exactly. It's the Rust. It's written in Rust, and it's wrapped, so you can use it. You don't have any of the Google API garbage that would make it really hard to embed this in your code. Because I'm not forcing you to use Python or the protobuffer library. I'm not forcing you to use this. It's just this really small function that you have access to.
So did you say you had made it? It'd be great to have it as an example in one of the languages. If you did you say you'd done that already? Like here's add it so that Go can use it, or add it so that Python can use it, or
it has Go, C++, and Python bindings already.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Yeah. No, I mean, I think maybe keep it initially as your own repo, or I don't know. I'm fine putting it in the main organizational one if you want.
Well, I mean, once it goes into the main one, it'll be easier because I want to set it up so that it actually is publishing to like PyPy and stuff. And so I want to set up all the credentials and stuff there, and I have to port them or anything from them.
Cool.
Probably though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with an empty repo, and I'm going to create a PR, and then I'm going to ask somebody with some Rust experience to take a look at it. Since it hasn't been really reviewed, it's a gigantic chunk of code.
Sounds good.
And I guess while I'm here, the other thing, and I'm probably going to duck out shortly because there's some talk I want to listen to. I'm looking at gluten again because with all the AI stuff these days, it looks like it's a lot easier to do some of these unforkings. So I'm going to start trying to tackle some of these unforked things by letting AI deal with it instead of letting me deal with it. And we'll see how that turns out.
That would be awesome.
All right, I will duck out. Enjoy the rest of this convention. I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. All right. Type alias support in user-defined literal PR.
Yeah, so Ben and I had some discussion along this, and then basically and on second thought, I think it's so initially the PR was proposing to adding a yet another way to another new message to define a user-defined literal. But I think after talking Ben, I think it's actually not a bad idea to just extend the user-defined literal itself. So the only change is just currently it has a type anchor, and the proposed change is making that as a one-of, and then it can either defer the type anchor or type alias anchor. So depending on the things, and you can the rest is the same. The only small problem is it is breaking change in one niche case where if Substrate, some implementation is using 0 as a type anchor ID, then it will be breaking change. So that's it's only that. It's only that. If you use 0 as an anchor ID, then it is breaking change. But I don't know, given that this is user-defined literal, I don't know how popular this use case is. So
yeah, we have some support for user-defined literals in Data Fusion. We support arrow types that are not substrate types. I don't know if they start their anchor numbering with 0 or not.
Okay,
I can look into that and get back to you.
I see. Yeah. So that is the only drawback of this one. It will be a breaking change for that particular implementations. So yeah.
I'm
going to put something out there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yes.
put something out there, which I'm just gonna. Oh shit. I think this actually could work.
Mhm.
I was contemplating whether another way to do this is to simply make it so that, as a concrete example, you make it so that negative numbers are references, are alias references, rather than
Negative
change the field
numbers.
change. Yeah, which I believe uint to assigned integer is a valid conversion if you go from uint 32 to signed 64. I think I can't remember the rules, but anyway, I was just thinking about whether or not there's another way to do it that isn't breaking. I feel like that's too cute.
I see.
But
I
was just thinking. I was like,
yeah.
Or the second part is that you do it as a 64-bit integer, and the first 32 bits are a type reference, and the second 32 bits are 64 is the alias. But sorry, I'm just getting too confused.
But then what if they're both there?
You may wonder what I've been working on recently that's been looking at this level of detail. But
yeah. Or if that's the really case, we can add a boolean if it is true, treat it as a alias. If it is false, then
so just to clarify this for a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to remember this because it sounds like you're saying that that the unset uint branch in a one of is not identifiable as being unset.
Correct. Yeah. So basically, if the client was using anchor 0, then basically that won't be there won't be anything. So the consumer side, you cannot distinguish which field was set.
But you should be. But you can ask what the branch is, right? The branch is distinguishable, right?
branch.
Like
Is
a
it?
property of, I believe that I think by putting something in a one of, they
Mhm.
have to be forced optional. There's this whole like back out, like where like Proto 3 initially didn't have
Mhm.
optionality, and then they added it back. People remember that, like the first version of Proto 3 had like
Mm, okay.
removed some stuff, and then they realized they needed it back. And I think it was around optionality, and I felt like part of it was the one of branch detection. Like one of the properties of one of is that you can tell which of the branches is set.
Right. Right.
So you're talking about, I'm just trying to think about the case you're talking about is a producer has, I believe that in the case that a producer has produced a plan that has an anchor,
Mhm.
that an old plan and a
Mhm.
new consumer should be fine, even if it's set to
That
0.
that
But
part,
you're
like,
talking
I
about a
don't know.
new producer and an old consumer. Well, they're not going to work, because if the new producer puts a type alias in, it ain't going to work.
Correct. But so yeah, I was like worried about the old producer producing type anchor value with the 0, and on the wire there's like nothing, and then the new consumer just parse it, and then it has like no idea about like this one-off. Okay, I have 2 alternatives, like, but there's nothing in the wire, like what it should be.
It doesn't. That's interesting.
So I mean, this is the going from a scalar to a one of. There's rules for that, I believe.
Yeah.
And you're saying,
Well, could we enforce that type alias references can't be 0? And then if there's the absence of this field, we just do the logic where we assume that it must be
Yeah,
a type reference of value 0.
we could enforce that. I mean, since it's new, we could add that requirements, but that will be somewhat hand wavy, right? So we need to look at that. Hey, type alias should start with the 1.
Well, I wonder, honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know, but was there a reason not to make all of them non-zero? It's just
Well, I don't know. Like, it's very easy to start with the 0. I mean, the roof always starts with 0.
Numbers.
Most
Hey,
of the
man,
time.
I don't know if you've been to programming class, but numbers start with 0. They don't start with 1.
yeah, but in all of my programming classes, 0 actually existed on memory. It didn't just disappear over the wire.
Did you start it from programming with Pascal or?
I got to tell you, when I program with Cursor, I don't have to worry about any of those details.
Yeah.
so changing a single explicit presence field or extension into a member of a new one of is safe. And I think maybe the explicit presence field is what you're talking about with the optional Jacques.
Yeah.
Mm.
And since it is not explicit, it is potentially not safe. And I'm hearing that it is potentially not safe if the old value is 0. Well, let me
Explicit. Just to clarify, explicit means that it will send the default value.
Explicit presence means that the word optional appears in the proto file, and that means that when it is serialized, it is going to serialize a bit to say whether or not the field is set or not before it's serialized. So like by default, if you don't have explicit presence and something is not set, it's just not serialized at all, and you can't tell the difference between the not set default. But if you mark optional, it uses explicit presence, which means it's going to use a bit more data to serialize it, but you will be able to distinguish between default and not set.
Yeah.
But
the question I had is that my recollection, Weston, was the early versions of Proto 3. the missing optional keyword did in fact have that behavior you just described,
Mhm.
but that later they changed it so that optional is implied even if it isn't actually explicitly written.
Uh,
Is
I-
no, this is memory from like 2 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't remember.
no,
exactly how long
I
ago it's been,
actually
so I may be wrong.
recollect something similar. I'm starting to recollecting something similar. Yeah.
Yeah, like there was some change.
No, in Proto 3,
Okay.
a singular numeric without the optional keyword does not have explicit license.
This is a nice little table.
Nice.
Is the migration from
So it does exist.
non-optional to explicit backwards compatible?
No.
As long as you're not checking for whether it's set. The problem
It
that
is-
he's talking about of producer that's working with the old system, it isn't going to set that it's present.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think that moving into one of automatically creates it as a explicit, creates that the inner fields as explicit because you need to know which branch is set.
Right. Yeah.
And so I do think that the statement that someone made, which is if it isn't set, it's 0 and it's the old branch, is a valid compatible behavior.
Well, I think what will happen is if you were setting it to 0, it's going to show up as not set.
Right. But I'm saying, but on the consumption of that, we can declare that if it's not set, it means it's type reference 0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that works.
So then it's then your change is backwards compatible.
Right. But another thing that I'm worried about is
Code maintenance.
yeah, code made sure, yeah. But let me so the old system
So the
should
code
be
that's going to say if
fine.
if it's a type do this, if it's a type alias do this, it needs to have 3 branches. If it's not set, it's a type which is 0.
Right. It's a type 0. So that's the default behavior. And right.
And we're not forwards compatible if you use type aliases just because it's a new feature and you can't be forwards compatible.
Correct. Yeah. So it will be just new system, new consumer systems that supporting type alias.
Yeah. The problem that you experience, which makes it somewhat backwards incompatible, is if I am a system that was working with the old version and I upgrade the spec, but I change none of the code, my system will stop working.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the
But that's like an upgrade. I don't know. I think that's an okay. I think that's a okay thing. I wouldn't consider that to be a breaking change.
I see. Yeah. But
I wouldn't say that.
technically-
Let me clarify. I wouldn't consider that to be a spec breaking change. I would consider that to be a like a API breaking change.
API break. Okay.
Yep, I agree.
Which I think is okay.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Okay. So then, yeah, I still this like GitHub, whatever. What is that thing? The enforcing thing, whatever. It actually required me to mark it as a breaking change. The buff throws some error that this morning.
Well, you can merge PR even if a check fails.
Oh, really?
I assume so. Well, admins can, I guess.
Okay.
You can,
I'm not sure that's even true, Weston. I think you're gonna have to manually turn it off and
oh,
merge, then turn it back on.
Yes.
But here's the thing: is actually Weston is when you do the merge, you can change the commit message, so you can just remove the breaking change comment in the commit message when you do the merge.
okay.
If you're doing the merge, that's I think someone's gonna have to remember to like remove the
breaking
update
change.
the commit message as part of the merging step.
That again depends on how GitHub's configured, but I think that might be how it's configured. I don't know. You can configure it so when you click merge, it doesn't even prompt you to change the commit message.
Okay, that's like way beyond my Git foo.
Yeah, I think if you do it on the phone, I think if you do it on the phone, I think if you do it on the computer, I think that it always asks.
Okay.
Yeah.
But make sure not to merge this one on the phone.
Okay.
And I think it has to be computer with a larger than WXGA screen.
X64 processor that was built after
Uh,
22.
uh,
Don't do it on an ARM. Definitely don't do it on an ARM. It's got to be an x86.
wait, my Apple MacBook Pro is running on ARM. That's
Yeah.
I know it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a bad joke. See, we have to explain that it's a joke. It's a bad joke.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
This PR probably needs some approvals anyway. So
Right.
let's
Yes.
take
Yeah.
this to the PR.
Take a look at it. These two, the remaining two are more like, because now I'm more involved in like reviewing more these things, so I just want to figure out these things. So fixed length list issues popped up, and I just want to encourage this person who created the issue. Can you contribute? But this person just create the issue and just don't respond at all. So I guess like this is like general expectation about these things.
Yeah.
Okay.
This issue is probably pretty useful for
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
the person that created the issue is a Lance user. So
Oh, I see.
I have some
Okay.
do this one myself. So I'll
Okay, that's good.
I'll take this on.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. And the other one is the backlog thing. So there are a bunch of pull requests, and I'm trying to see whether I can start merging stuff. And one of these, this is the backlog job. No, the pull request A72. That is this bot is updating the dependencies, and I have no idea what this is. Is it okay? We just keep just approving these things, or do we need some validations? Or I mean,
Usually, if the CI passes, then it's fine. I
should be
mean,
okay, right? Yeah.
and I think that's like maybe think about it if it's used. Like if the dependency were used in your public API, then your users might care what version you are using. In other cases, I think as long as the CI passes, it's generally fine. But like if it were to, and again, this is the Substrate repo, so it's not like there is any public API.
Right.
So this is really just about like, this is a tool probably that we use to build the website. So.
Oh.
Oh
Okay.
no, this is GitHub Actions. So this is just one of the GitHub Actions. So it makes a lot of sense to upgrade it. Like
Just upgrade. Yeah. Why not?
I think the only thing that we wouldn't want to upgrade is, let's say, that protobuf jumped to 4 or something like that. And for the Substrate repo, I think that's probably the only thing we would be worried about.
Yeah.
Everything else, I think, can just move forward.
Okay.
In most of my Rust repos, I wouldn't want to automatically upgrade Arrow because Arrow is part of my public API. So if I start asking for Arrow version, 10 instead of 9, that affects my users.
I see. Okay. That's good. Yeah.
All right. Any other discussions or topics that need to be covered today?
Looks like that's it. Yeah. Ben, I started to reviewing the PR, the table functions. We'll submit the comments probably in half hour, something. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, I had started reviewing Boshin. We talked about this offline, but the Claude generated, or I don't know if you use Claude, some robot generated documentation update, and I commented that I think some chunks of it were wrong, which made me think that maybe to facilitate this being better in the future, because I would like to be able to automate this process a little bit, it could be nice as a validation to introduce some way to have CI/CD actually check that things we embed inside of the documentation actually conform to the schemas, because that was basically the comments I left. It sort of got it wrong, but it definitely would have gotten it right if it had a check to say, this is wrong, you're missing this field and this field. I don't know exactly what that would look like. Like maybe instead of putting content in the markdown directly, we put it in files and then embed the file content inside the markdown, and then we can just make a new check that checks for those things. But something worth thinking about, because even if it's not the robots writing it, it will be us writing it. And if we somehow change the schema in some way that matters, that could be a nice thing to just make sure those things are aligned.
Yeah. I like the idea of that. So like actual code in separate files instead of in the markdown.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of standard for this? Because it's something I've run across numerous times. Like you want your documentation examples to be valid. Like, is there like a markdown extension that someone already built that like you can say like, hey, find the code blocks, and for each code block of type foo, run a compiler?
Most of
I
them.
mean, if that exists, that'd be even better.
It just seems like it should exist. I'm not saying that it does. It's just like, come on, this is it's such a common thing, right? That your docs are fucked up because you changed the API and the docs don't get compiled.
The one thing that I think can just be a little tough about it, although I'm sure there are smart people in this world that maybe tried to figure this out, is just that sometimes we put incomplete chunks in the docs, and you'd have to figure out how to handle those cases. ... Yeah.
We put the inside the doc is a comment, like push the rest of the code.
Right.
Come on, simple solve.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'd do a search because I kind of feel like someone must have solved this at some level, and maybe maybe it's not useful for us, but I'd at least spend like a 3-minute time on a search to see, like, send an AI out to go and fucking see if we can find anything good.
The 3 minutes could save hours of work, so I'll definitely do the search.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's probably one of those things that if it exists, it probably exists for one of those like old like doc systems. Like you'll have to use LaTeX for everything, whatever.
Oh, LaTeX, oh god.
Then we're just import the docs to LaTeX. Is that what you're arguing?
Yes, exactly. You know what? I'm sure an AI can do that. Not too problematic.
Probably.
You have a lot more flexibility over exactly which pixels you want to use.
Let's move our docs to assembly and just be done with it. Then we know it'll be correct.
Hand drawn.
WebAssembly.
WebAssembly.
Dude, so much promise and so little delivery.
All
I
right.
still don't really get what it is, so.
I'm going to interpret this as the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
All right. See you all later. Have a good day.
Everyone.
See you. Bye.
Bye.